So far, we've talked about a number of models, a number of methods to work with time series and forecast. Forecast the demand, for example, in time series. However, I would like you to notice that in all the models we've talked so far, they've been focused on averages of the past observations. None of these models has focused on a case, a situation where there is a pronounced either upward trend or a downward trend in our observations. And the models we've studied so far don't work well if the data that we observe demonstrate either an upward trend, like this case, or the data as a result of our observation show a downward trend. In cases like this, we use a statistical technique called linear regression. It's an approach to forecasting when there is a trend in the data. It expresses the forecast variable as a linear function of an independent variable. So, when you have a time series, what's your independent variable? It is time. So using linear regression, when you see a trend in observed data, is to assume that you can draw a line that can be used to predict the value of these forecasts, the observations, and then so far we've talked about time series modeling approaches that dealt with randomness. In all the models we covered prior to this video, and in the last slide we talked about a time series model that accounts for upward or downward trends by using linear regression. But how about seasonality? What about those repeated up and down patterns, for example, in the demand for a product based on season? In this table, you can see a couple of examples that the demand changes based on the season. For example, in summer months, people use more gasoline because they travel more, or they go to Caribbean cruises more often in winter months because they want to go to warmer areas. So these types of demand show a pattern, an up and down pattern based on the season, which is called seasonality. When there is a seasonality in the demand pattern, we have to have some method to adjust our forecast to account for this effect.